Good evening, Archana ma'am.
Good evening. Can you see my presentation?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And voice clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We will wait for 5 minutes and then we will start. Is it okay? Ma'am, you there? Hello? 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 Hello. Hello.
Yes.
I think we will wait for 2 minutes. Ma'am has some internet problem.
Ishwar, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
Okay. So, and my screen is also visible, right?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So now
Should we
I'm
start?
ready. Let me know. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Uh, good evening, everyone. My name is C.A. Ishwar Yadav. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's wonderful evening, and we are here to welcome ma'am. Actually, NRI is always Chris subject, and everyone is very interested in that. Actually, we can see there are two queries already there for you, ma'am. So everyone is very
Yes.
eagerly waiting for you to hear from you. Just I will give you a brief introduction of yours. Hello everyone. CA Archana Rathi ma'am is qualified FCA. She has also completed DISA and she has also completed advanced diploma in international taxation. Ma'am have 15 plus years of experience in corporate tax, international trade setup, international tax, transfer pricing. Ma'am is founder and director of Benchmarking Revolutions Private Limited and has offices in India, UK, and UAE. Ma'am also completed recently the Independent Director's Proficiency Test conducted by IICA. The client handled by ma'am are from various industries such as manufacturing, engineering, IT, and pharma. Her specialization is in assistance in strategic transfer pricing defense during the transfer pricing audits by revenue authorities. She also assists in alternate dispute resolution mechanisms such as self-harbors, mutual agreement procedure, and advanced pricing. Uh, she she have very wide experience of setting industries in UK, US, Singapore, and UAE. With this brief introduction, I would like to ask ma'am to start her session because everyone is waiting and everyone have a lot of queries for you, I think. So please start the ma'am. Over to you.
Okay, thanks Ishwar
Yes, thank you.
for giving my introduction. So, good evening, friends, and I'm very happy to see this. That before we start, there are already questions coming up. So, right now, I am able to see only one question. I would request that after once my presentation is over, then we all will be able to try to answer this question, and even will be very easy to answer the questions after the session. So
Yes, ma'am. That will we do. We will. I will forward all questions to you after your session. Yes, ma'am.
yes, so let's start. um, Basically, residency and non-residency has been always been a subject of discussions and interpretation whenever we are preparing especially returns for non-residents, not ordinary residents, and a lot of confusing definitions are there. So it's a good opportunity given to me to that we can discuss in detail the entire provisions around residency. So before we start and see what are the revised provisions by this budget 2020, I would like to take you to understand the earlier provisions, because there is so much confusion in earlier provisions only. If they are not clear, it will be tough for us to understand the revised provisions. Therefore, let us first see what are the earlier provisions. So majorly residency is viewed from section 6 of Income Tax Act, and as per section 6 you can see that an individual is considered as resident if there are two conditions. One is his stay is 182 days or more in current year. Then very specifically, please focus on this: or the individual is in India for 365 days or more in preceding 4 PYs and 60 days or more in current year. So very important is for first two provisions A and B, there is or. So to be resident, we have to either satisfy 182 days condition, or we have to be in India for 365 days in last 4 PYs and 60 days in current year. So suppose any individual is there in India for 365 days in last 4 PYs, but not 60 days in current year, then then he will be non-resident. So it is very critical that he has to satisfy this both the conditions. Then there is explanation 1 for Indian citizens and person of Indian origin who leaves India for doing job or for attending crew of Indian ship. If they have to leave India in previous year, then in that case 60 days has been replaced to 182 days. Now here again, if non-resident is serving somewhere out of India and comes to visit to India, then also the period was 182 days instead of 60 days. So here there is a lot of question come when suppose many new employees who first time go to US or UK, and during the particular financial year, then the question arises what will be the taxability for initial months in US or UK or wherever country he has gone. So for ease of interpretation, this provision was brought in that if they leave India for more than 182 days, then we have to determine their taxability. This was the earlier section 6. Now there has been amendment in section 6 only to section 6(1)(b). So the first condition, their stay 182 days is same, not changed. Second condition, individual 365 days and 60 days. Here there is a change pertaining to A, if an employee leaves for doing job or a member of a ship, then same provision 182 days. But if a person is outside India or person of Indian citizen or person of Indian origin comes to a visit in India, then in that case, this 60 days will, this 182 days will become 120 days. And there is also one more condition, that if his income is exceeding 15 lakhs in India, so other than his income from foreign sources. So if his income is less than 15 lakhs in India, then we have to rely on the earlier provisions only. So therefore, it is very important to keep in mind these provisions also. So as per the revised provision, an individual who is an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin having total income other than income from foreign sources exceeding 15 lakhs in the said period, the stay in India shall be 120 days. The said amendment is only made to 1B of section 6 and only for those those people whose total income other than income from foreign sources exceeds 15 lakhs. So what is important to note in amended provision is 3 points. Total income should be more than 15 lakhs. Total stay should exceed 119 days. And very important, his stay in 360 last 4 years should exceed 365 days. Then only the person will be treated as not ordinary resident. So this is one of the change. We will see all the changes and then we can see the overall impact. Then there is a change to there is an additional section 1A which has been brought in. So what is that? There is a concept of deemed residence introduced by this budget. So let us see what is deemed resident. So deemed residence is applicable to citizen of India, and very important that the clause in the act starts with notwithstanding anything contained in clause 1. So notwithstanding anything contained in earlier provision, if a citizen of India is not liable to tax in any other country or territory by reason of his domicile or residence, and his income other than foreign income is exceeding rupees 15 lakhs in India during the previous year, then that person or a citizen of India will be treated as deemed resident. So let's take one example so that it will be easy for all of us to understand. Suppose Mr. A, an Indian citizen, let's say he stayed in India for 40 days. He stayed in Singapore for 130 days. He stayed in England for 110 days, and he stayed in Dubai for 85 days. He is having income from India exceeding 15 lakhs, and he was not. So we can see that during the previous year, he was not resident in any state due to lesser number of stay in all the countries. So he will be treated as stateless, and therefore he will be covered under the provision of 6(1)(a), and the beneficial special tax rates which are available to non-resident will not be applicable to him. So so how do you know who is citizen of India? Let us interpret certain important definition of some words which have been introduced here. So citizen of India can normally be judged from the passport. If the assessee is holding Indian passport, then he will be said to be Indian citizen. So, as per this amendment, stateless person to be considered as deemed resident, this provision is applicable from FY 2021. So, probably AY 21-22. Indian citizen, even if he's not visited India, this is very critical, that even if in some cases, Indian citizen, even if he's not visited India, but his income is exceeding 16 lakhs and he is not taxable anywhere in the world, he may come under the tax net, but subject to DTAA, and we may have to examine other provisions. Prima facie, the intention of government to bring in this amendment was written in the memorandum which was enclosed along with the budget. So in the memorandum, they had defined what is stateless person. So in tax planning world, there is a jargon called tax nomad, wherein individuals, usually the HNI is seeking to avoid tax, would plan their residence in such a way that they would be treated as non-resident in all the countries where he's staying, and thereby he avoids tax in every country. So uh, there may be some genuine cases also, like there are some high level professionals or companies directors, MDs who travel such a way. So but majorly government is aiming to target all high net worth individuals who are planning their taxes in such a way. So there is also another word in earlier, not liable to tax in any country. So this is also very important word to, and we have to evaluate it further. What means not liable to tax? So suppose in any other country, he has taken benefit of any exemption, or his income is such that it is not taxable in that country, whether that would fall under not liable to tax, that we have tried to evaluate. So there are various judgments already in Indian income tax. So there are some Azadi Bachao Andolan, Emirates Shipping Lines, Birla, which state that very clearly they state that persons, that very clearly state that you not liable to tax means after taking into if after taking into consideration all the exemption and all the allowances which are allowed by particular country. So if you are taking the benefit of those, you will not be treated as you are not liable to tax. You will be treated as liable to tax, but there is no tax in that country. So these are the interpretation coming out of not liable to tax. Then there is also a circular, reference to circular, which is issued on 3rd February. So what happened is when this deemed resident concept was introduced, lot of persons, in UAE and Qatar were having problem because there is no tax in UAE. So how their whether their entire salaries and income earned in UAE will be taxed in India or not was a big question. Therefore, this circular was brought in, wherein it was clearly brought in by the CBDT that genuine Indian citizens who are working abroad, their intention is not to bring them under tax net. So, uh, because of this circular, many people's life was made easy. However, the interpretation of the tax authorities could differ simply by bare reading of this section, which would potentially lead to lot of disputes. Let's go to another amendment. So there is also amendment to section 6(6), which defines not ordinary resident section. Uh, Earlier, uh, a person to be treated as not ordinary resident, there were these two conditions. if an individual is R in or if he is resident, non-resident in 9 out of 10 PYs preceding that year, or he has been in India during 7 preceding PYs for 730 days. So what is the change? So in addition to above two provisions, following two provisions have been added. So a citizen of India, for a person of Indian origin who visits India for a period of 120 days or more, but less than 182 days, and his total income other than foreign sources exceed 15 lakhs, or a citizen of India who is deemed to be resident under clause 618. So if a citizen of India's residency exceeds 120 but not less than 182 days, and if he is deemed resident under 618, which we have referred earlier, then he will be treated as a not ordinary resident under section 66. So based on this, what we have seen so far is amendment to section 6, amendment to section 61A, and amendment to section 66. Based on this, I have tried to bring out some examples wherein we can quickly see whether they are residents or non-residents. So we will see this example. In case anyone has doubt why particular status has been treated, then we can you can ask me and we can discuss that as well. So let us see case by case. Case 1. So this is a citizen of India, and in first instance, now we are assuming that his income from Indian sources is up to 15 lakhs or less than 15 lakhs. Now let us see how his residential status will be treated. So 190 days stay in India, 370 days past for previous year, obviously he is going to be a resident. 135 2021, 370, he will be treated as non-resident. 110 days, 370, non-resident. 125, 310, non-resident. 110, 311, non-resident. So this is first example. Now let us say if his income is exceeding 15 lakhs, then in that case, first 190, 370, he is a resident. 135, 370, he will be treated as RNR because his income is exceeding 15 lakhs. His stay is 135 days, and total stay past 4 PYs is 370. Case 3, 110, 370, non-satisfaction of the first condition itself, therefore non-resident. 125, 310, again non-resident because he's not satisfying second condition, and we have seen that there is a and there. So he has to be 365. So even if he meets 120 days here, since he is not meeting the second condition, he will be treated as a non-resident. Case 4, he is 110, 311, non-resident. I hope this is clear to everyone. So just to summarize, for a person to be treated as not ordinary resident, there are these 4 conditions. He has to be non-resident in 9 out of 10 previous year, has been in India for 729 days or more during 7 preceding years, an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin having total income other than foreign sources exceeding 15 lakhs, and a citizen deemed to be resident under clause 1A. And when the third condition, when his income exceeds 15 lakhs, for the previous year, he has to come to India for 120 days or more, but less than 182 days. In that case, he will be treated as a not ordinary resident. So Now let us see how we can link the income earned based on residential status and its taxability in India. So we have bifurcated this in three categories: ROR, RNOR, and NR. So income received or deemed to be received in India, it is very clear. Any income which is received to be received in India, it is taxable in any case of residential status. Income which accrues or arises or is deemed to accrue or arise in India, again same answer, yes in all three cases. Income which accrues or arises outside India from business control in India or professional setup in India, then it is taxable in case of ROR, RNOR, but not in case of non-resident. Any other income, then if it is other income, then it obviously cannot be controlled from any country as such. Therefore, it is not taxable in case of RNOR as well. Now, there is also foreign asset disclosure requirements to be done while reporting under ITRs. So, very important, if the person is falling as RNOR under the revised provisions, then for him also we have to fill in this foreign asset disclosure requirement, which is not applicable to non-resident. So, this is a very important change. In case a person's residential status is changing because of this provision, then he will have to disclose foreign asset disclosure requirements as well. Now a very simple question arises to our mind, that all these provisions are amended as per Indian Income Tax Act. What about DTAA? Can we take benefit of DTAA if something is going against us as per Indian Income Tax Act? So we have tried to analyze the provisions, whether we can take the benefit of DTAA if it is there. Because of change in this definition, can we rely on DTAA? So basic principle of whether DTAA will be applicable or not is that person has to be a non-resident to take the benefit of DTAA. Then DTAA is applicable only to person who are residents of contracting state, that means non-resident in India and resident in some other country with whom India has signed DTAA. No treaty can be claimed if the person is non-resident of either of contracting state. So if you are non-resident in India as well, if you are non-resident in Singapore or UK or any other country, then you will not be able to take treaty benefit. Then there is also very important provisions in DTAA which are called tiebreaker test. So can we take benefit of tiebreaker test when there is such issue of residency, and due to change in residency there's some income which is getting taxable? That we'll see in the subsequent slide. But how the change in residential status is going to impact you is this way: the change of income tax rate in Indian income, taxability of income accrued outside India if that business is controlled and set up in India. So now let us see what we were speaking about tiebreaker concept in DTAA. So suppose a person is a resident in UK also, as per firstly he is resident in India as well, and person is resident in UK also. He must be having work permit, or he must be visiting UK also regularly for his work, and it is such a way that in UK also he is meeting the residency requirements. Then in that case, how to determine his residency is very well given in various DTAAs. So in tiebreaker cases, we have to analyze from following 5 points. Firstly, we have to see where is his permanent home, whether he has permanent home in India or he has permanent home in UK. Now let us say he has permanent home at both the countries. Then we have to go to the next test, which is the economic or personal interest test. We have to see where is overall his place of business and profession, where are his employees located, what are his personal interests like family, social relations, economic relations. If answer to all 3 points is also same, if the person may have place of business in India as well and may have place of business in UK as well, person may employ employees in India as well, UK as well, and he may have personal interest in both the countries, then in that case we have to go to the test C. So we have to examine his habitual abode. So his frequency, duration, regularity of stays in both the countries will be determined. If you still cannot answer about his residency, then it will come under nationality, country of which the individual is national. And there are some cases wherein the person was national in both the countries. In that case, we will have to apply to competent authorities to determine his residential status by applying for MAP or something. So one may be able to take the benefit of tiebreaker rules in case the determination of residential status in India as per Income Tax Act is going against him, or if he has to pay higher tax, then he will be able to take benefit of section 92 of the Income Tax Act, which says that whichever is beneficial, either DTAA or the Income Tax Act, that should prevail for the assessee. So tiebreaker rule is tiebreaker rule will play very important factor now, because now this will be used very frequently in case there is a status change of residency for high net worth individuals. Then there is also to solve this problem of tiebreaker rule, if one can get tax residency certificate from the other country, from the government or income tax department of that particular country, then also this will ease out his life. So I have tried to bring out here what is the effect by shifting status from not residents to not ordinary resident. Let us take this example of Mr. A, who visits to India for 150 days in a particular financial year before 31st March 2020, when these rules have been brought in. So dividend paid by Indian companies was 20 lakhs, and then as per Indian Income Tax Act, he may be taxed at more than average rate of somewhere around 30% based on the slab in which he is falling. But he was able to take benefit of particular DTAA. So let's say in Singapore DTAA, the same dividend is taxable at 15%. In UAE, the same dividend is taxable at 10%. If it's from Hong Kong, then the same is taxable at 5%. So he was able to take benefit of these treaties if he was non-resident. Now, suppose say the same individual visits India for 150 days during FY 2021, scenario 2. Then what will happen? So the as he is visited for more than 150 days, which is more than 120 days, he will be treated as not ordinary residents as per section 66C. So Mr. A is not ordinary resident for India and resident for other country. It is presumed that by applying tiebreaker test, Mr. A is resident for India and non-resident for other country as per DTAA as well. Then such dividend will be taxable in India at normal slab rate, which may be as high as 30-35%, and DTAA benefit will not be applicable to him because of change in residency. again, which are the section which will be impacted by amendment of these sections? There are various sections wherein concessional rate of tax have been given uh, for non-residents. All these will be affected. So once he becomes RNR, he will be losing all these concessions. So under 115A1, there is a dividend income wherein concessional rate of tax is there. Then A2, interest received from government, or if it is a debt or anything borrowed in foreign currency, then there is a concessional rate of tax. Interest received from an infrastructure debt fund is also subject to lower rate of tax. Any interest received from Indian company, interest on rupee denominated bonds, mutual funds, royalty fees uh, uh, from foreign company, then interest or dividend from specific bonds, all these sections and their concessions will be lost once the particular person is treated as RNR. Then what are the overall impacts? So that citizens in total scope of total income will increase. Income that accrues or arises outside India but is derived from business or profession controlled from India will now be taxable in India in the hands of such individual. Then loss of all exemptions. So there are various exemptions available in the hands of non-resident which will be lost. So however, interest in respect of interest on NRE account and FCNR deposits will not be impacted by this amendment. Loss of concessional rate of tax and presumptive scheme benefits. There are various nature of income that are taxable at concessional rates in the hands of non-resident. 5% to 20% will become taxable at normal rate, slab rate, applicable in the hands of such individual. Benefits provided under DTAA laws. As we saw in earlier slides, once an individual becomes resident of India as well, the importance of tiebreaker rule will increase to determine status of the residence of the individual under DTAA. If individual qualifies as a resident of India after applying the tiebreaker test, as we saw, various concessions given under the DTAA with regard to capital gain dividend will be lost. Increase onus to substantiate non-taxability of income. As you know, Indian income tax officers and scrutiny goes, it will be really difficult to justify whether particular source is accrued or arises outside India. So we see following impacts due to change in definition of residency. Then what are the issues due to COVID-19? So because of COVID, there was, before COVID and lockdown was announced, there was fantastic mobility around the entire world. And as suddenly lockdowns were announced in various countries at various point of time from March till date today. So there are certain individuals who are traveled in India who were non-residents could not go back to their particular country because of lockdown and other restrictions on travel. So what will happen to their residency status is a very important question, and I think some of our participants had already asked the question related to this. So there is a circular issued by CBDT on 8 May 2020, but that circular is only for FY 1920 and not for FY 2021. So what that circular says that if any person uh, is enabled to leave India between 22nd March to 31st March, departure on evacuation flight on or before 31st March 2020, he could not depart or he's quarantined and cannot leave India post 2020, then his stay here in India will not be considered while calculating his total number of days presence and calculating his residential status. So there is some relief for FY 1920, but if you see for FY 1920, hardly there are some number of days which are getting affected, but for FY 2021 there is going to be a huge impact. And every one of us are awaiting for the circular from the government with this respect, that how the state, how the people, employees of overseas who could not travel overseas because of travel restrictions under COVID-19, how their residency will be treated. So we all are awaiting for the circular for FY 2021. So this is it for non-residency and all the impact. I mean, there are only three sections which have been amended, and I have tried to cover everything. So I have finished very early. We can open the session for question answers. Ishwar?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm there.
Yes, we have finished. Actually, there are amendments to only three sections. So I have finished my presentation.
Okay, so should we start questions and answer session?
Yes.
We have two questions in Q&A session.
Yes, I can see only one question here.
Okay.
Which is asked by Vinod Datar. Shall I take this?
Okay, so I will dictate you another one. You
okay.
Or should I dictate this also?
Okay. Now I am able to see the another question as.
Yeah.
So the first question is, a person is NRI for last 5 assessment years, including the latest AY 2021. He came to India in March 2020 before the announcement of the lockdown and is stuck in India since that day. His stay in India for the current AY 21-22 is likely to be more than 182 days. His stay in India for the 7 previous has been preceding AY 21 has been 554 days. His stay in India for 7 previous years has been 554 days. He has income in India 1 lakh. Will his foreign income be taxable in AY 21-22? So to answer this question, firstly, since he is stuck in India due to COVID-19, for determination of his residential status, whether this lockdown period will be covered or not, we all are awaiting for the CBDT's amended circular on this. We already spoke on this. So we will have to wait and see. But there are certain judgments earlier given that due to some unavoidable situations and conditions in the countries, if the person is not able to travel, then you will be able to exclude that period. So even if that circular is not there, we may be able to take benefit of those judgments, but of course those are judgments and not the law. So we have to wait till the CBDT circular comes and give us more guidance on this. And whether his foreign income be taxable in AY 21 or 22 or not, for that we need to understand whether this NRI is staying in which country. Based on that, we will be able to determine whether his foreign income is taxable or not. Is there
okay?
Whether
there is another question of Sunil sir.
Sunil, I can see now.
Yes.
With respect to NRI status and 15 lakhs income independence, interdependence. Would
Interdependence.
total income include interest on NRE fixed deposit after Chapter 6 deductions, which are otherwise exempt in the hands of NRI but taxable in the hands of RNOR and RI? Would total income be after adjustment of brought forward capital LTCG of current year? If income is below 15 lakhs, then days to be considered is 182. That is correct. However, if income exceeds 15 lakhs, then 120 days are considered for calculation. So NRE interest is exempt only for non-resident. This is a very good question, because then in such kind of situation, what happens is whether to consider the status, residential status first, or whether to consider deductions which are available to RNOR or R. So firstly, we will have to determine the residential status of that person as per revised rules. Then we have to see if he's falling under RNOR, then he will not be allowed for the allowances which are allowable to not residents. Then in that case, we have to consider the total income after considering all the exemption and deduction which are allowed for a RNOR and not non-resident. I hope I have answered your question.
Okay.
Vinod,
So
Vinod Datar sir is saying he was in Germany. So pertaining to his question, we will also have to see whether we can take benefit of DTAA sign between India and Germany. Based on that, we will be able to determine whether it is taxable in India or not, and he will be RNOR.
Okay. Should we move to next question, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah. Vikas sir has asked us that is there any exemption of
seafarer receives salary in India for services rendered outside India. So services which are rendered outside India based on the residential status of seafarer, there are various exemptions and various beneficial provisions are there for seafarers. Therefore, firstly, we will have to determine his residential status, and based on that, we will have to determine whether his income is taxable outside India or not.
Okay. One more question has been asked us on my email. I will dictate you the same. Should I?
Yes.
Yeah. A person is NRI for last 5 years, including the AY 2021. He came to India in March before the announcement of lockdown, and he's stuck in India since. His stays in India for current AY 21-22 is likely to be more than 182 days. His stays in India for preceding 7 years, 2021, has been 554 days. His income in India is rupees
we
1 lakh.
answered this question.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
This question is the first question, I think, asked by Mr. Vinod Datar.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. It is the same question.
Yes. So, I think we have answered all the questions.
There is one more question, ma'am. Need clarity and whether and how there will be impact on the change of NRI definition in split residency cases. That is residency only for part of the tax year arising due to different financial year followed by foreign jurisdiction and India. That is Germany follows calendar year as a financial year. How to finalize residential status of NRI in such cases?
Can you please read out this question again? I have understood it half.
Okay. Need clarity on whether and how there will be impact on change in NRI definition in split residency cases. That is resident only for part of the tax year arising due to different financial year followed by foreign jurisdiction and India. That is Germany follows calendar year as a financial year. How to finalize residential status of NRI in such cases?
Okay, so here, based on what I have understood your questions, we have to see when for that particular person we are determined residential status in India, we will have to see financial year. And when he's filing return for India, we have to consider financial year. And when he will be filing Germany related taxes, he will have to refer to calendar year. And as far as filing of that person's return in India, we will have to work upon the financial year. So you may have to work upon financial year's salary in Germany and take proportionate benefit of taxes withheld under in Germany.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, I have answered.
Ma'am. Yeah. So there is one more question of Vinod sir only. If a person is RONR in Q1, then will his foreign income will be taxable in India?
Vinod sir, thing is that even if he is RNOR, the foreign income which is earned, it will depend on whether it is salary, dividend, or it is from business or profession which is controlled from India. If it is controlled from India for our own RNR, you will have to, it will be taxable in India. But if it is totally not controlled and income earned out of India, then it will not be taxable. But you will also have to refer DTAA. It will be beneficial for you. And you may connect with me in person so that we can see your case, specifically this case, and decide whether his foreign income will be taxable or not. And in your case, you will also have to wait till the CBDT gives the instructions, further instruction with respect to people who are not non-residents, who are not able to travel back to their particular country because of COVID. So that benefit also you may be able to take. Therefore, I would suggest you should wait till CBDT issues further guidelines. And CBDT is going very shortly, very soon we are going to receive this CBDT guideline with respect to people for not able to travel for AY 2021.
Okay, ma'am. So I think we have completed all the questions. There is one more question for RONR, whether interest on NRE deposits is taxable in India.
Interest on NRE deposit has been specifically exempted even in case of RNR. We covered that in our presentation.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think there are any more questions. So should we close for the evening, ma'am?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for this tremendous knowledge and answers you have provided to all queries. A lot of questions have been answered, and if any future questions, we will reach to you for sure. This PPT we will also share if you, with your permission, to our
Sure.
website. So yes, ma'am. Thank you very much on behalf of Pune ICI for giving this tremendous knowledge to us. We would like to thank all staff members who have supported in this and all attendees who have attended in this pandemic situation. Thank you very much, everyone.
And I also thank Pune ICI and the entire host team for giving me opportunity to present this. And I hope I have met the expectation of all the participants. I will share this PPT
Yes, ma'am.
with everyone.
It was honor to learn something from you, ma'am. It was a great thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.